Well, let's kick off our news review now. I'm pleased to say we're joined by political correspondent for The Independent, Millie Cook, and former Conservative Special Advisor, Charlie Rowley. Morning to you. Happy bank holiday, both.
Morning.
Shall we kick off then with the front page of The Times? Pressure grows for PM to get a grip on asylum claims. And it's the sense that's growing, Millie, is that the public, their opinion is wearing thin on this, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. This polling, we can see 7 in 10 voters think the Prime Minister has mishandled the issue. Interestingly, 56% of them are Labour voters. So it really does show that the tide people are getting increasingly frustrated about this issue. And obviously it's not a Labour problem, it was there before. But I think people's patience with it is very, very thin now. And I think their fuse on it was pretty short before the government came into power. And now they're sort of feeling that they're just not doing enough. Those small boat crossings are still going up, and there isn't really any evidence for people to see that the government has taken any real effective action on it. Interestingly, in this story, we have Lord Blunkett, who's a former Labour Home Secretary, calling for more radical solutions, including suspending the ECHR and the UN Refugee Convention, which a year ago I think would have been a pretty radical right-wing idea. It was at the time. And I think to have a former Labour Home Secretary calling for that now, he's not calling for us to leave it, but a suspension itself from a Labour Home Secretary, it is a pretty big move, and I think it shows how far the mood has shifted, really, for that to be coming from sort of that side of the political spectrum.
Charlie, were you surprised by Lord Blunkett's comments?
I was surprised, but not in a way. Shocked, but not surprised, I suppose, because, as Millie said, it's not something you expect from a former Labour Home Secretary. It's not something that I think, would be traditionally Labour Party policy. But the crisis has got so bad, and it's been the story of the summer. Day after day, we're hearing about more people coming into the country through the small boats crossings. You're hearing more legal allegations about people that have come into been housed in hotels, that potentially have gone on to commit crimes. It has caused this pressure cooker, I think, over the summer, where you're seeing protests, where you're obviously seeing what's happening in Epping, where the council have taken the government to court over the use of the hotels. So it's a story that just keeps on going, and it's now about, as Millie said, it's not about sort of talking about what the government's going to do. It's not, it's not telling the country what it's going to do. It's got to show the country what's it doing to get on top of a crisis which has been there for a long time, and that's why the Tories got such a trashing at the last election. They didn't get a grip of the migration crisis. So that's where the public focus is, and that's why it's still a story on many of the front pages.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because it's a visible problem for many communities, and any change, whether it's Yvette Cooper saying that the appeals process will be spread out, Millie, if it doesn't happen soon, the public will remember, and that's the problem that they have.
Yeah, I think they've been in office a year now, and I think there hasn't been any tangible change in those figures. The number of asylum seekers in hotels has gone up. The number of small boat crossings has hit a record milestone this year. So it does feel like the tide just hasn't turned on it, and it really does need to. And I think even though the government's been stepping up its rhetoric and it's been trying to show that it is hearing voters, and it has introduced policies, but until those policies, like the one-in, one-out deal with France, start working and those numbers start coming down, I actually don't think anyone's going to listen, really.
No, and its time is not on their hands, is it? So on the front page of the Daily Express then, Charlie, the paper has spoken to an Albanian people smuggler, and this person claims that the government could actually stop small boats from crossing the channel tomorrow.
Yes, and I don't believe him, and I don't think anybody should believe him. So anybody that's picking up this front page and sort of getting angry about it, you could understand the sentiment when you hear someone who is a criminal who takes thousands and thousands of pounds by putting people on those small boats and sending them to the UK, to be able to turn around and say, oh, well, actually, the government really could stop it tomorrow. It's more difficult than that. So I wouldn't take the word of a criminal, personally. But it just plays into all the anger that we're talking about today, where, it feels as though across the country it is just simply too easy to get into the country through the small boat crossing, and then you have the add-ons of being put into a hotel and potentially, given up to £50 a week, and all the other, add-ons that, we keep reading about. That just plays into the public's fears and worries about this crisis, and a criminal saying how easy it is not going to help the government or make the issue or the story go away anytime soon.
Yeah, the other side of this, Millie, is that there are voices that say if there were safe and legal routes into this country, potentially stories like this of a criminal saying that they've earned £400,000 from people putting people on dinghies, it wouldn't happen. That would cut the model.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There are a whole host of refugee charities that are saying that we just simply don't have enough safe and legal routes, and people are being forced into making an extremely dangerous crossing. And I think the government's been trying to make that clear as well, in that they're saying they don't want people to make this crossing in the first place. But it's all well and good saying that, but if you're not putting in place those routes for people to come to the UK without making that journey, then they sort of don't really have a leg to stand on with it. It's a tragedy that so many people are making that journey. And I think that there's a huge number of calls which aren't really cutting through because of that fear around migration, but there are lots of calls from refugee charities to open up those routes and make sure that people aren't forced into making the journey.
Interesting. Also, can we just pull up the Daily Express one more time? It's on a few of the other papers too. And it's the picture that's leading the paper, really, and it's of Kate Middleton. And the story is this Kate going blonde, or is this just the sun shining down on the future Queen? What's your take, Millie?
I have quite strong views on this. I don't think she is blonde. If you look at there's sort of an inset photo. She's got brown hair in that one. Okay. I think you can get any coloured hair in the light.
I think this is that debate that was had a few years ago. Is it a blue or grey dress? Yeah. And this may go viral now. Charlie, thoughts?
Well, this will keep me awake all day, I'm sure, getting to the bottom of it. But I think it looks as though from the front page picture, it does look as though it's a nice beam of light coming in.
I think it's a beam of light.
Yeah. But, who am I? It's not I have to say, it's not my subject, my specialist subject, I have to say, but it might surprise you. I know.
Well, it might be.
You've handled it very well.
But what is fascinating is the change of, the style of the royal family. So when William grew a beard, for example, that went absolutely mad. People went bizarre over it because, it's a change of style, a change of look, and people who love the royal family want to know all the little nuggets of changes that take place. So we'll have to see if she declares or confirms or denies whether she's had any highlights or not, if that's the...
Well, she was taking that stand, wasn't she, recently, not to reveal what designers she wears for clothes, because actually she wants the focus to be on the causes that she's supporting. But whatever she does, the papers pick up on it because people want to know details on the royal family, on Kate Middleton. OK, let's move on to the front page of the Daily Telegraph, Charlie. And just yesterday, Ukraine was celebrating Independence Day, 34 years since leaving the Soviet Union. And Trump, the headline that leads the Daily Telegraph, cuts off Kyiv's long-range missiles. There's been a huge worry for Zelensky.
It will be. And, the thing about Donald Trump that we should know by now, but we always seem to be learning every day, is that you just never know what he's thinking. You never know what he's going to say next. Because it was only a couple of days ago where he said, that there'll be a deal within the next couple of weeks, and you've got to watch Putin, and I give him 2 weeks, and if he doesn't come to the table, if he doesn't create a deal, if he doesn't end the war that's taking place, then they'll be held to pay, so to speak, in Trump language. So the idea that he's sort of putting a little bit of pressure on Putin, but he's treating Putin, I think, as I wouldn't go as far as saying equal, but there certainly seems to feel
sympathy.
There's a bit more. I think Donald Trump clearly, I think, feels more comfortable with someone that is maybe similar in terms of being either more business-minded, being more sort of direct. And he seems to want to, I think, woo Russia to try and bring the war to an end, rather than being the bad cop, so to speak. But I think, so that could change in an instant, by the way. We never know what... he's threatened sanctions on Russia as well, so we have to make that clear. But it is just another... headache or anxiety, inducing sort of comment for President Zelensky, who obviously has been through the ringer with Trump. Obviously, their bust up in the Oval Office will be still in the front of many people's minds.
Absolutely.
And of course, you've got the rest of Europe wanting, through that coalition of the willing that the Prime Minister's put together, to try and bring this war to an end, but being very firmly on the side of Ukraine. Donald Trump is taking his own path to this rather than the conventional route.
Yeah, so interesting. Thank you so much, Millie, Charlie, for your company this hour. That's all from us for now. We're taking a short break. Join us for the headlines next.
I'm David Blevins, and I'm Sky's Senior Ireland Correspondent.